You just walked away from a conversation with her. Maybe it was 10 minutes, maybe less. But now you're home, and your brain has already replayed it 4 times. The way she smiled. That one moment she touched your arm. Whether she held eye contact a half second too long, or if you just imagined it, you're building a case, running the evidence. And the verdict keeps flipping. You know that feeling. You've been replaying that 10-minute interaction for 3 hours, looking for a sign that simply might not be there. And it's not because you're desperate. It's because your brain hates being wrong. There's a psychological principle called confirmation bias. Your mind will find whatever pattern it's already looking for. If you want her to be interested, every smile becomes evidence. Every laugh becomes proof. But here's the problem with that. Smiles can be rehearsed. Words can be chosen carefully. The face is the most socially trained part of the human body. It's been performing for other people since she was old enough to know what a camera was. So if you're reading her face, you're reading her performance. What you need to read is what she didn't plan to show you, because the body leaks what the mind tries to hide. That's what this is about. Not her words, not even her eyes. 5 specific signals her body sends before her social filter even has a chance to catch them, and once you know what to look for, the confusion stops. Here's something most guys don't want to admit. We've all been fooled by a high-energy woman. She's attentive. She remembers your name. She laughs easily and makes you feel like the most interesting person in the room, and you walk away thinking, something's there. Most guys do this. Even I have done it before. I sat there thinking a girl was into me because she was high energy and attentive. Turns out she treated the guy behind me the exact same way. Same energy, same smile, same lean in. That's not a red flag on her part. That's just who she is. We're biologically wired to look for big, obvious signals because our ancestors needed clear cues to survive. But high EQ women in the modern world have developed what psychologists call a social mask. A polished, warm, socially fluent version of themselves that they wear in almost every interaction, and that mask mimics attraction almost perfectly. So the face, the smile, the eye contact, the laugh, that's the controlled layer. That's where her social training lives. The unconscious body is a different story entirely. There's a lag, a glitch in the matrix between what she wants you to see and what her nervous system is actually doing. Her prefrontal cortex is managing the conversation, but her limbic system, the older, faster, emotional brain, is running its own program underneath. That's the program you need to learn to read. To see through the mask, you have to look where she isn't looking, and that starts in the first 1/5 of a second. First, watch the brows. The first real truth lives in that fraction of a second. Watch her face in the first 0.2 seconds. Not after she starts talking. Not when she's already mid-sentence and smiling at you. The exact moment her eyes land on you, before she has time to compose herself. That's where the eyebrow flash lives. It's an involuntary lift. Both brows rise for a fraction of a second, then settle back down. The whole thing is over before most people register it happened. It's a micro-expression, a raw, lizard brain reaction that hits her face before her social filter even knows it's happened. A polite greeting looks different. Fixed smile, steady brows, measured eye contact. That's performed warmth. Genuine recognition looks like a small, controlled flinch. The brows go up, the eyes soften slightly. It happens because her brain just flagged you as something it wants, and that reaction is faster than conscious thought. She can't fake it. And she can't stop it. Most guys are already waiting for her to say something. By the time she does, the most honest signal she'll ever send you is already gone. Start watching earlier. The face tells the truth in the moments before it knows it's being watched. But the face can still be fast. Easy to miss, easy to second guess. If you're still unsure about her face, look down. The feet are the most honest part of the human body. Picture a group of 4 people standing in a loose circle. Everyone's engaged. Someone's telling a story. She's looking at the speaker, responding to the speaker, laughing at the right moments. But her feet are pointed directly at you. This is what researchers call nonverbal leakage, the body routing information that the conscious mind didn't authorize. The lower half of the body is the least socially monitored. Nobody coaches you on where to point your feet at a party. So the feet go where the brain actually wants to be. Social compliance looks one way, body turned toward whoever's talking, feet following along, hidden interest looks like a split. Her attention is performing in one direction, but her weight, her stance, her toes, they've already chosen you. If her feet find you in a crowded room, her interest is already there, even if her conversation is elsewhere. You don't need to manufacture anything when that's happening. The orientation is already in your favor. Once her body has locked onto you physically, something else starts happening at the neurological level, something she's even less aware of. Her brain begins building a bridge. The third thing you'll notice is behavioral synchrony. You shift your weight. A few seconds later, she adjusts her posture. You pick up your glass. She reaches for hers. You slow your speech down. Her pace follows. This is mirroring, and it's not a choice. It's the brain's method of encoding connection. When we're drawn to someone, we unconsciously begin to synchronize with them. Psychologists call it behavioral synchrony, and it runs below the level of conscious awareness. We move like the people we like. It's the brain's way of saying, we are on the same wavelength. Mismatched energy tells the opposite story. You're leaning in, she's leaning back, her body consistently angled away. That gap is data too. But synchronized flow, you move, she follows, and neither of you planned it, that's the nervous system establishing rapport without a single word. But be careful. Mirroring can be faked by anyone who's spent 10 minutes reading a sales manual, so mirroring alone isn't the verdict. To find the signal that's almost impossible to manufacture, you need to watch what her brain does with your information when you're not even in the room. Next is the baseline paradox, the memory upgrade. This is where most guys get completely played, not by her, but by their own misreading of what attention actually means. 3 weeks ago, somewhere in a passing conversation, you mentioned your dog had been sick. You didn't make a big deal of it. It was a side comment, maybe 10 seconds of the conversation. She was there. She heard it. Then last week, out of nowhere, hey, is your dog feeling better? Stop there. Because that question is not small. That question required her brain to tag that information as worth storing. And the brain doesn't do that by accident. Psychologists call it selective attention. When attraction is present, the brain automatically labels everything connected to that person as important and files it accordingly. She remembered a detail you barely remembered yourself. But here's the framework that actually matters, and most people miss this entirely. True attraction isn't about the signal itself. It's about the standard deviation from her social baseline. If she's the office assistant who remembers every client's birthday, every colleague's coffee order, every detail of every conversation, then remembering your dog's name is just Tuesday for her. That's her baseline. You're not a deviation, you're just another data point she collected. But if she's generally scattered, the kind of person who forgets plans and loses track of conversations, and she suddenly recalls something you said in passing 4 weeks ago, that's a memory upgrade. And memory upgrades don't happen by accident. Ask yourself one question. Does she do this for everyone? The answer tells you everything. When her brain starts prioritizing your data, her body will start craving something else, proximity. Finally, look for incidental physical contact. This one is subtle. And it's subtle because it's not supposed to be a move, a light touch on your forearm while she's laughing, sitting close enough on a shared bench that your arms are nearly touching, and neither of you moves away, a hand briefly on your shoulder to get your attention when she could have just said your name. These aren't deliberate signals. That's exactly the point. Psychologists call this haptic communication. Touch as a channel for emotional information. When attraction is present, the brain lowers the threshold for personal space. The body begins seeking proximity and contact as a way to release oxytocin, the neurochemical associated with bonding and trust. The tell isn't the touch itself. It's what happens in the half second after. An accidental contact, a bump, a graze, gets pulled back immediately. There's an apology. A slight recoil. The body corrects the breach. Lingering proximity looks different. The touch stays a beat longer than it needed to. no pullback, no correction. Sometimes not even acknowledgement, because to her nervous system, it didn't feel like a mistake. The body craves closeness to what it's attracted to. These aren't deliberate moves. They are incidental leaks. Now you have 5 of them. So how do you actually use this without sending yourself back into the same spiral of overthinking you started with? One sign means nothing. Seriously. She might just have naturally expressive brows. She might be a natural mirror. She might sit close to everyone because she grew up in a house where personal space wasn't a concept. One signal is a coincidence. 2 or 3. Now you're on to something. 4 or more. And that is a consistent pattern, and patterns don't lie. Here's the framework that cuts through the noise. Stop hunting for the big sign, the grand gesture. The moment she looks at you like something out of a movie. That's not how attraction works in real life, and waiting for it means you'll miss everything that's actually happening. What you're looking for is deviation. Not whether she smiled, but whether she smiles differently at you than she does at everyone else. Not whether she remembered something, but whether remembering things is even in her character. Not whether she touched your arm, but whether that touch lingered in a way it didn't need to. Attraction has a quality to it that's hard to fake and impossible to miss once you stop looking for the obvious and start watching for what falls outside her normal range. Look, one of these signs could be a coincidence. 2 or 3, now you're reading a pattern. 4 or more, and you're no longer guessing, you're observing. That's the shift, from anxious interpretation to calm observation. She either is or she isn't, and the signals will tell you if you're watching the right layer. If you've ever missed signals like these in the past, or realized too late that she was actually into you, drop a comment. Trust me, we've all been there, including me. But knowing someone's attracted to you is one thing. Knowing what to do next, without overthinking it, without killing the dynamic in the first 30 seconds, that's a completely different skill. Because the moment you start calculating your response is the exact moment you lose the thread. And most guys get this part completely wrong. That's what's coming next.